اللهم لك سجودي وطاعتي شكرا لله والحمد لله شكرا لله والحمد لله.
Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Fayaz Saiba. Yali Madad friends, welcome to our Sunday morning session.
Once again, Ya Ali Madad everyone, it's really lovely to be here with you all. Thank you. Importance of Tawil in the Ismaili Tariqah, the wisdom of Tawil, importance of Tawil through the example of holding fast to the rope of God, and how Tawil is given by the Rasikun fil Ilm. Yeah? The topic today is really, really important, and it's really very special because it removes misperceptions. It also helps us to understand and ultimately realize monoreality, which is the purpose of our life, to know that our higher I is even right now with the Imam of the time, right? So remember the precious words of our Imam, Mu'min's soul is our soul. These are the beautiful words of our 48th Imam. Our souls be sacrificed for him. We are extremely, extremely blessed that we are given wisdom, ta'wil, through the Imam of the time, right? And the reason Imam of the time gives us ta'wil is so that our soul can elevate and identify nur, or recognize monoreality. Nur Maulana Shakri Al-Hussaini Hazri Imam, the living speaking Quran, the living Nur, reminds us, and he says, what I wish for my spiritual children to do. And see, this is action driven, right? He says that he wishes us to live cautiously, with wisdom and intelligently. The question is, how can we cautiously connect wisdom and intelligence together? Throughout the presentation, we will actually be looking at how we can, as Imam's spiritual children, come true to his trust in us and live every moment of our life cautiously, with wisdom and intelligently. Yeah. Thank you for participating. You are right. Yes, this sandal or the slipper connects with this very profound hadith, Kasifun Nahal, which is the mender of the shoes. We are talking about ta'wil, right? This hadith, Kasifun Nahal, says that indeed amongst you, there is one who will fight for the sake of the ta'wil of the Quran as I did for the sake of Tanzil, right? So people asked the Holy Prophet, is it Abu Bakr, is it Omar? And Prophet said no, indicating towards Mullah Ali, who was actually mending his slippers at that time, and said no, rather he is the mender of the shoes, Kasifun. Okay? So we know that it is Mullah Ali who is giving ta'wil, who is fighting for the ta'wil, and this continues with Nur Maulana Shakri Al-Hussaini Hazar Imam. Quick recap, we had looked at understanding the balance between the square, circle, and triangle, physical, spiritual, intellectual, because we as human beings are a junction. Now that we are talking about ta'wil, everything resonates around the balance of the physical, spiritual, and intellectual, and all the ta'wil, all the recognitions, all the experiences are in the personal one. You may recall our beloved 48th Imam's Nurani words where he says paradise is here. He actually pointed towards the forehead. So in the Ginanic literature, it's the Bamar Gufa or the Jabin Mubarak. Why are Ismailis unique in history? Because we have the living Nur. Nur Maulana Shakri Al-Hussaini Hazri Imam reminds us the Ismaili Tariqah of Islam, which is first of all peace, and then it is wisdom and knowledge, right? We are receiving wisdom, fresh Nurani, fresh spiritual and intellectual bounties from God directly to the Imam of the time. So what is Tawil? Return to the origin. It's from the root word awala, and literally means to return something to its origin, awal. Technically, ta'wil is to explain the inner esoteric meaning of a word or speech, This Tawil is the inner wisdom. Mullah Ali is the giver of the Tawil, the hidden meaning of the Tanzil that was brought by the Holy Prophet. Spiritually, intellectually, Ta'wil is ilm Qiyamat, knowledge of resurrection. Ta'wil mujarrad mahaz, pure Ta'wil, right? There are no examples. This is just pure Ta'wil. And this is the most profound and the highest level of Ta'wil, okay? Ilm Qiyamat. The question to ask is, as we are aware that we are now in the beginning, at the dawn of the spiritual cycle, or the cycle of Ta'wil, or the cycle of unveiling, how can we benefit more and more from this Ta'wil Mahaz Mujarrad, the pure Ta'wil? The Quranic name of Ta'wil is Ilm Laduni. Ta'wil is batin, it's hidden, it's the secrets of the Holy Quran. Ta'wil is the essence and Tanzil is the form. Okay? Ta'wil is the truth. The day its Ta'wil will come, those who were previously forgetful of it will say, indeed, the messengers of our Lord brought the truth. So which is that day? Is it the day of resurrection? Is it the cycle of this, the spiritual cycle, the cycle of unveiling? This tells us that Ta'wil is the truth. It is the word of God. It is in the form of knowledge. It is in the form of wisdom. With Haq truth here, Surah 53 refers to the Walayat of Mullah Ali. It is referring to the living guide, living Nur, the Imam of the time, the cycle of Imamat. Today, Imam Nur Maulana Shah Kamal Singh Haji Imam is unfolding the Ta'wil as needed according to our changing times, right? And this is such an awesome blessing for us because we are now ahead of our time and we can go beyond any other group or any other community in the world because Imam is guiding us for us to anticipate what is coming in the future and go beyond. So profound Ta'wil, Hikmat-e Baliga is based on the present participle Fa'il, which means the one who reaches or makes others rich, right? So Fa'il, just like Nure Fa'al, the Nur which is really, really fast, the Nur which is very rapid, the Nur which is very swift, okay, Nur Fa'al. So here we are talking about the wisdom, very unique. So Hikmat-e Baliga is ever-reaching, it's a perfect wisdom, it's the perfect intellect, it's knowledge linked with the treasures of the recognition of the light of Imam, the light of intellect. Thus, Hikmat-e Baliga or profound wisdom has come to the world as a ladder so that fortunate mu'mins can climb step by step and reach the higher world till the light of Nur-e-Arsh, the throne, is reached. Okay? How does this help us? Step by step, level by level, we are progressing, right? And this helps us to open our hearts, minds, and intellect. It widens our understanding, leads us to Haziratul Quds, the sacred sanctuary, okay, and helps us to understand and recognize the secrets of nature. So the Ta'wil, Hikmat-e Baliga, far-reaching wisdom. God wants us as human beings to have ease and comfort, and therefore He has made the light of the Holy Prophet and the Imam of the time in our cycle to guide us so that according to the living light we can actualize our potential and we can understand the wisdoms mentioned in the Holy Quran. God says, and we have indeed made the Quran easy to understand and remember. So how is the Quran made easy for us to remember and understand? This is referring to the word. Ta'wil is a trust. Qarun was given all the blessings of spirituality. He was given wisdom, but he was not sharing them and therefore he was ruined. In this reference, we clearly see then that Ta'wil is a trust and it is to be shared with Imam's mercy. When Mawla's mercy descends and when ta'wil is given, the inner eye opens, and here mighty group of souls in front, right? So it's referring to the level of Ainul Yaqeen, where the individual can see all the bounties and all the mercies. The discourse, Mawla Ali says that I am the spirit. Quranic ayat says, they ask you, so they are the people of the time. Okay, so the people of the time are asking Holy Prophet about what Mawla Ali is saying, that he is the spirit. God says, they ask you, meaning the people of the day are asking you, O Prophet, about the spirit. Say, the spirit is from the command of my Lord, and you have been given of knowledge but a little. God does not reveal knowledge to those who do not accept and or obey the Imam of the time. Okay, because in this answer, look, people are asking, what is the spirit? And God does not give knowledge in here, right? He just says that the spirit is from the world of command and that you are given little knowledge. Importance of ta'wil, importance of wisdom, we can look at how ta'wil takes us back to our original place. And in the example, we are looking at the rope of God, Hablullah. So the rope of God is living Islam. It is light of intellect, which is the fountainhead of knowledge and guidance in the form of Quran and the light of Imamah. It is attached with the Holy Prophet and the Imam of the time, and this is the divine Sunnah, law. This example tells us that the rope of God is unique, it's living, it's present, it cannot be broken, it is from the heaven to the earth. It always is and will always be there. It always was, because this is the divine Sunnah. And the rope of God is not physical, it is spiritual. The rope of God is the personality of the Imam of the time. It is Nurun ala Nur. How beautiful it is, because anything that's related to or connected with God necessarily has profound wisdom in it, right? There's a beautiful hadith which says that one end of the rope is with God himself and the other is in front of us, right? And look, the Quranic ayat says, and hold fast all of you together to the rope of God and do not separate. Look, it says hold fast, right? Hold strongly. It doesn't just say hold it, right? The ayat says hold strongly all of you together. So again, it's not just for a specific individual or few individuals, right? It says all of you together. Continues to say that, and do not separate. So we see that this basically talks about oneness, because there is togetherness here. Hold fast, hold strongly, all of you together. So there is oneness, equality, strength, victory. It talks about this beautiful ayat, talks about Islamic civilization. It talks about science. It talks about technology. And it makes us realize how beautiful this example is. Imagine this world to be a well. We are given this rope, which is also Sirat al-Mustaqim. We hold on to it and we come out of this well, which is the world, into the spiritual realm, elevating our souls, connecting with higher self, trying to merge with He who is above all else. All this is happening in our personal world. In this physical space, we are having spiritual experiences. So necessity of ta'wil is seen in the Holy Prophet's prayer for his companion, Abdullah ibn Abbas, Abdul Muttalib. Prophet prayed that God grant him understanding of religion and teach him ta'wil. In another occasion, Holy Prophet said, O Allah, teach him the ta'wil of the Quran. Because if we do not have ta'wil, we cannot progress, we would not have deeper or proper understanding. And these are two other examples which help us to understand. Ta'wil is also ta'bir, interpretation of knowledge. as in the example of Hazrat Yusuf. The second example is that of how Tawil is explanation. God created the perfect man at the highest level and taught him bayan, Tawil. So here, let's enjoy with celebration and shukrguzari the teachings of our peers, Pir Saladin, Pir Shams, because all the Ginanic literature actually is Ilmul Yaqeen, which came from the Ainul Yaqeen and the Hakul Yaqeen, the experiences of our peers. And in this example, I'm using the works of Professor Allama Nasiruddin Hunzai, the greatest 21st century Ismaili poet. In 1951, he went through resurrection. And so he was taught Tawil, the explanation, he was given the explanation of all the wisdoms of the Holy Quran. And therefore, with Hazrat Imam's blessings and guidance, he has unfolded all those in the books that we now have in front of us. So necessity of ta'wil. Other than present living Imam, can others do ta'wil? This may be a question that may arise, right? So we could look at Sayyidina Nasir Khusrau, right? He wrote Wajiddin, and the Wajiddin is full of ta'wil. And we know at the colloquium which was held in London, England, Hazrat Imam called Pir Nasir Khusrau Sayyidna. Wajiddin is full of ta'wil. Imam gives the ta'wil to the moments of the first rank. Ta'wil is given by the Imam of the time. Amali, practical ta'wil of the Quran is known only by the Rasikun fil Ilm, those who are well grounded in knowledge. Reflect upon how the literalists tanzil physical meaning at its face value, even when it comes to the anthropomorphic attributes of God. Okay, they take it at the face value. On the other hand, mutakalims, who are theologians, and they take tanzil as is, but they also seek out the ta'wil. Wisdom is that supreme thing which is granted to everyone by God and automatically brings abundant good to him who it is given to. Ismailism is the path of wisdom and knowledge, and we have seen how Professor Allama Nasiruddin Hunzai says in his works that our beloved 48th Imam, Sultan Muhammad Shah al-Husseini, our souls be sacrificed for him again and again, has already resurrected ilmi Qiyamah, okay? Resurrection of knowledge. And that is through this word of monorealism. Remember also the Usuluddin Farman. Everything is in the dot. It's amazing how everything is encompassed in the dot itself. The dot here, I'm referring to the Al-Kitab, which is Surah Shifa, Surah Fatiha, which encompasses the entire Quran in it. The entire Quran is encompassed in Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim is in Bismillah. Bismillah is in Ba. The Ba is in the dot. Okay, so everything resonates around the Nur, the guiding light, the Imam of the time. Ta'wil also is spiritual, it's atomic particles, subtle spirituality, subtle understandings. All those are profound wisdoms. So when we look at the Ummah, increasingly, as Mom says, that we must solve problems with intelligence and wisdom. And then he talks about how we should expand our intellect and our wisdom, right? And he says that this is our mission. So remember in the first slide, we were talking about how we have to actually lead every moment of our lives with wisdom and intelligently. So remember, it's not limited just to the physical life, right? But the harmony of the physical, spiritual, and intellectual. And I'm going to stop here. Time is up, so we'll connect in Q&A time. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, Alima.
Few important things which Yasmin has already covered, but there are dimensions, always different dimensions from where we can learn each component of Tawil in Smiley Tariqa. So as we already have learned that Tawil, if we do analysis, is a root, comes from the root letters Awwala, Alif, Waw, Lam in Arabic and in Urdu. So it's something coming from origin. It is mentioned 17 times in Quran, and symbol or misal is the example, and the symbolize is also called mamsul. These are the concepts very important for all Ismailis, that if we read Quran and if we read Farman, if we read Ginan, these are the concepts very important for religious interpretation. Ismaili Tariqa interpretation, which is a Batini interpretation and which is not merely Tanzili or exoterically, but esoterically. Whereas if we see Tanzil, so there are two different terms, Tawil and opposite of Tawil is Tanzil. So Tawil is stemming from Awwal and Tanzil is bringing down, Nazala. It's come from Nazala, which is coming down, like when rains comes down. So it comes from the sky to the earth. So something coming from top to bottom. And symbolically, it is physical meaning or exoteric meaning. And there are many symbolic interpretation of Tawil, like already Yasmin has explained that it is Batini ilm, it is Ruhani ilm, it is spiritual ilm, it is Hikmati ilm, it is full of wisdom. But there must be someone who should do Tawil for us. And according to Maula Ali, he said that Ana Ma'awwilul Tawil, I am the doer of Tawil. And Maula Ali means Ali of the time and Holy Prophet and his progeny. So Tawil brings us all to some meaning of a symbol. And in Daim, it is said that there is no doubt that it is the progeny of Holy Prophet who know the meaning of all the allegories or examples, parables of Quran, and after him, it is this sense they are called custodian of Tawil, which is Rasikhun fil Ilm. So who are the Rasikhun fil Ilm? We'll see later on, but in Quran it is said that the Holy Prophet, and after Holy Prophet it's Maula Ali, and then all the Imamans, and the one who is Arif and who has inhalated in Imam of the time. Okay, so to understand the circle of Tawil, if we see Imam Jafar Sadiq saying, he says that Noon is angel. Noon is, we can call it Kalam mein Allah, or where everything is present. So Noon is angel who conveys the news. What is the news? News of Quran, news of ilm, news of hikmat, news of this world, news of the world hereafter, news of the personal world, and news of Alam-e-Insaniyat. So it conveys the news from kalam to pen, which is Lohe Mahfuz, and then from Lohe Mahfuz to these three major angels from Israfil, and then Israfil conveys it to Mikail, and then Mikail conveys it to Jibrail, and then Jibrail conveys it to Prophet. So this is the physical form where, and then Prophet has asked his followers and his friends to write down Quran, which is in form of Wahi, which is revealed from Allah or from Noon or from higher angel. So there are the five ways where these Tawil is coming from. Why it is important? Because these are the five wasait or the five areas where they have the meaning. But the point here is that Tanzil, which is coming from Alam-e-Malakut, Jabrut, Lahut, and then in the Prophet heart, it is similar to what is there in the Noon. So Prophet receives what is there in the noon and what is there in this world and hereafter, all the news in form of Nur. The Prophet has received the information in a Nurani form, but to convert that Nurani form into the written form, it's Tanzeel. So if I want to write my experience in form of a writing, then all the emotions, all the feelings, all the esoteric meaning will not translate directly into the pen and into the writing. So it is very important for all of us that what is written there is something beyond that writing, because that in this beyond writing there is some Nurani conversation, and that Nurani conversation, Nurani manifestation, and that Ruhani mushahidas is going on. So there is some worldly or some Nurani interpretation behind the Tanzili form. So this is the circle, and I'll show you again another circle, that when the Prophet has given the Wahi or written the Wahi in form of Tanzeel, which is with us in Quran, and which is with all of us, all Muslims, in form of Holy Quran. So that means that this is the return form of the Nurani form. This is the return form of whatever is there in the Nurani and Ruhani form. And now we have to convert, or somebody has to teach us this Tanzeel to Ilmul Yaqeen, at the Ilmul Yaqeen, at Malakut, the Jibreel level, or we can have the spiritual level and then the intellectual level. So there are level of Tawil also, that Tawil in form of Ilm, Tawil in form of some spiritual experiences, or Tawil coming in form of some intellectual experiences. So whoever goes to that intellectual experiences, who is the Arif of the time, and who get into the resurrection, which Yasmin has said that those who have the resurrection, or according to the hadith, mutu kabalanta mutu, we have to very remember this hadith all the time, that mutu kabalanta mutu means that die before this carnal death. So those who die before this physical death, that person goes into the resurrection and receive and reached up to that intellectual level, so that that person or that Rasikhuna fil ilm, after Imam and the Prophet receive that the knowledge which is at the intellectual level. Now that intellectual level has to come slowly and gradually from the spiritual level to the Ilmul Yaqeen. So what we are learning from the Farman, from the books of Dais, from books of Peers, from Allama Sahib's books, and from other sources like Hakim Pir Nasir Khusro's books, these are in the form of Ilmul Yaqeen level, which are the written form, but coming from the intellectual and the spiritual level. So the Quran in its real form, which is in the book, is Tanzeel, but then it has to reach and convert and transform into the Tawil, and that's what our faith is about. So we believe in Tanzeel. Yes, we do believe in Tanzeel, but then our interpretation of Tanzeel is important, because Smiley Tariqa is the Tawili Tariqa and not merely Tanzili Tariqa. And we have discussed this thing multiple times, that how much of the portion we are believing in Marifat and Tariqat, and not only in Shariat, which is just Tanzili form. For example, if we see this, I have showed this diagram in my last lecture also, that there are 4 rivers, but not going into the detail of all 4 rivers, but just see the 2 river of wine and river of honey. So the river of wine is basically Natik, who is the master of Tanzeel. So who is giving us Tanzeel in form of holy book, which is Quran. So wine is the example of tanzeel. And if we see the property of wine, it has somewhat distorted property, has some kind of ill effects on the body if it is not taken appropriately. So wine can distort our thoughts and can also disorder our forms and manners. So it may create some chaos and disbeliefs if we just merely see the tanzili level of the Quranic interpretation. While honey is the Tawil. So tanzili form of the verse does not convey any logical sense, so we need Tawil. And the Tawil is practical, key in nature, and due to the blessing, all the doubts are removed, all the ambiguities are answered, and whatever questions we have, it can be easily answered through the honey. And if we see the property of honey, it's the effective cure physically also, and Tawili wisdom of honey, that is the healing for men and it's the healing for the diseases also. So if we see the two properties physically also, the property of wine and property of honey, one is tanzeel, one is tawil. So that's the reason tanzeel is important, because from tanzeel we need to go into the ladder of tawil through tanzeel. So the physical form is also very important. That's where Imam also emphasizes that we should read the parts of the Quran which are important, and we should read the meaning behind those parts of the Quran. So the Quran basically, which is in front of us, is in Tanzili form, but we have to convert that into the Tawili form so that we can have the river of honey also available for us. So, and there is another term is one is muhkamat and muttashabihat. So in the whole Quran, it is said that Quranic ayat can be categorized into two categories. One is decisive, like it's amar or ahkam, and one is allegorical, which are symbolical and which are in examples and parables. So in Quran, in Surah Al Imran, ayat 7, it is said that huwa allazi anzala alayka kitaba mannahu ayatu muhkamatu, and then wa akhru muttashabihatu. So that means that we have sent down this book, means Holy Quran, which contains some words that are categorical. People have translated this muhkamat, which is basically comes from hukum or amar, that you do this, you do not do this. Like you pay zakat, you do ibadat, you don't do bad things. So these are all the hukum or the amar or the muhkam, which are categorical. Do this or don't do this. Do and not to do. So these are basically decisive. Decision is already made that what things we have to do and what things we do not have to do in this world. And and some are allegorical. Allegorical means examples. And those examples are metaphor, and these metaphors require interpretation. And Allah is saying that these metaphorical explanation, people would like to deviate these metaphorical explanation and interpretation to convert their own wishes. So they will try to interpret all those metaphors and allegories and examples to make their interpretation valid. But then Allah is saying that none knows their meaning. For example, rope of Allah. Yasmin is like very well explained that what rope of Allah means. So what rope of Allah? So now the rope of Allah only means like Allah only knows what does rope means. So rope of Allah means like only accept God and those who are well grounded in knowledge. And those are called rasikhuna fil ilm. So only Allah knows, and those who are grounded in the knowledge, or Rasikhuna fil ilm, and we'll see who are the Rasikhuna fil ilm. So these Rasikhuna fil ilm, those are well grounded in knowledge. They only know. Then this is clear from this ayat that Allah is saying that nobody knows these examples and allegories and parables, that what does that mean? Only Allah and those who are rasikhun fil ilm. So muhkam and muttashabihat are the two Arabic words. If we can remember this muhkamat and muttashabihat, then when we read that there are certain ayats which are categorical or decisive, and certain ayat are allegorical, and what allegories and these examples meant. This is the work of the Imam of the time and those who are given the knowledge. For example, rope of Allah, hands of Allah, ladder of Allah, what does that mean? So that explanation is only given by Allah or by Imam of the time. And now we'll see that how Imam will give this explanation. And there is one another example, that protect yourself from the war, wear armor or keep lot of horses to protect yourself. Now this is like this is in this point in time, it's useless. We do not wear this warrior armor, and we do not have horses to keep us away from the wars. So that means that there is some internal meaning or some esoteric meaning behind all these verses or all these allegories or parables which Allah is mentioned or Allah has mentioned in the Quran. And there must be someone who can explain us, who can explain Mu'min, that what all these examples means to us. So this Rasikhuna fil ilm. So Imam Jafar Sadiq has said that who are Rasikhun fil ilm? And he said that we are the Rasikhuna fil ilm. We know the Tawil. And then he says that the messenger of God is the most excellent, or Rasikhuna fil ilm. And after him, Ali, and then after him, those who are grounded in the knowledge. Now, those are grounded in the knowledge are one who go into the spiritual resurrection, brings the knowledge, and then come back and gives the Tawili knowledge to all of us. How Imam teaches Tawil to Mu'min? Have we ever seen that Imam has asked Murid and then said that these are the classes, these are the online classes, please attend, I'll come and explain you, and then have read the Quran and read the ayat and then have explained us? No, he is giving ilm ladunni, or a knowledge in the blessed person of the time, or the arif who inhalates in Imam. Like Pir Nasir Khusro, on the basis of Quranic verse, he said that do they not reflect on the Quran, or they are locked on their heart? So he invites reflection, research, and Tawil, condemn taqleed, like just blindly you do conformity. So that is also very important. And one Quranic name of Tawil is Ilm Laduni. Like Imam Abdul Salam has said that if you want me to open the door of secret for you, like give the Tawil to you, become a student of my heart's Batini school. So there is no physical school or physical madrasa of Imam Zaman. There is a Batini madrasa of Imam through Isma Azam, and then one who is successful in doing this Isma Azam and passing all the steps of spirituality and steps of the intellectual resurrection, then he becomes the teacher of the Tawil, who is the student of Imam's Batini school, Imam's heart's Batini school. मेरे दिल के मदरसे में आकर पढ़ो. Imam is saying that जिसको भी राज जानना है, those who wants to understand the secrets or the spiritual knowledge or intellectual knowledge or the meaning of the allegories and parables and the symbols, come to my heart Batini madrasa, my heart Batini school. And Allama Nasir Hunzai has said that I did not know what is knowledge. neither had that courage until your luminous book started to teach me wisdom in my heart. So this is the connection of Momin's heart to Imam's heart, and then that connection reached up to the level of inhalation, and then at that level, Imam teaches that murid in his madrasa all the Tawil of the Holy Quran, which is there in the Tanzil. And when he comes down, he teaches to the people and the friends and all who want those tawilat from his book. That's the reason Pir Nasir Khusro has a lot of books. Allama Nasir Hunzawi has a lot of books, and Daiz has written a lot of books. Our Pirs have written a lot of Kinan. So that means that they are also writing the explanation what they have achieved at the level, and then connecting those interpretation with the Quranic interpretation. There is also very important term Tabir and Tawil, which Yasmin has a little bit highlighted, but there is little bit difference of Tawil and Tabir. So if we see there are 4 worlds: world of wakefulness, world of imagination, world of dream, and world of spirituality. So alame khayal, alame khab, this is alame bedari, which wakefulness, alame khayal, which is khayal, thoughts, and alame khab, which is world of dream, and alame ruhaniyat, which is the world of spirituality. So Tawil is encompassing in all 4 worlds, but the Tabir is usually used in form of dream. Like Yusuf knows the Tabir of dream, and we have last time gone through the Yusuf story and some of the dream which he has explained the Tabir of. So that dream, if somebody is interpreting, that means that this is Tabir of that dream. Yusuf has taught the Tawil and Tabir also. The word Tabir is just mentioned once in Quran. So therefore, Tawil is more encompassing. So that is very important that it is encompassed in all the 4 worlds. Now, benefits of Tawil, why we want to know the Tawil. So if we just see these 3 ayats, the answer is in these 3 ayats. If we concentrate in these 3 ayats, so Tawil is also called hikmat, as we said, and as also Yasmin has explained. So there is in one ayat, it is said that Yutil hikmata man yashau, waman yutil hikmata fakat utiya khairan kasira. He gives wisdom to whomsoever he please, and those who are bestowed wisdom get good in abundance. Khairan kasira. Every neki, every good will be given to that person who is given Tawil. So those people or those arif who are given Tawil will be given all good, all neki. So sari nekiyan jo hai, that is given from the hikmat. So hikmat is equal to abundant good. And then there is one more ayat where it says that فَقَدْ آتَيْنَا عَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ وَآتَيْنَا هُمُ الْمُلْكًا كَبِيرًا. We have given Ibrahim's progeny the book and the wisdom. Same wisdom, Tawil, and we gave them the great kingdom. So after Tawil, for the Tawil, abundance good is given. If we get the Tawil, a great kingdom is given. And Tawil is Tawil from the intellectual level. Tawil at the point of the intellectuality, the great kingdom is given, the great abundance good is given, and kingdom is this kingdom of spirituality. So in the resurrection, spiritual wars takes place, and then in that war, the Momin won the great kingdom of the spirituality. So he receives he or she receives kingdom of spirituality. He receives abundant good, And then in one more ayat it is said that Alam taraw anna Allaha sakhkhara lakum ma fis samawati wa ma fil ardi wa asbagha alaykum ni'amahu zahiratan wa batina. Now it's ni'amahu zahiratan wa batina. Point to be noted here that do you not see that Allah has subjugated to you all the things of the heaven and the earth, and has completed his physical and spiritual bounties. So he has, like Allah is saying this to Muhammad, that don't you see that earth and the heaven have subjugated, and then he has completed, and this is for all of us, that he has given all his physical and spiritual bounties, spiritual ni'mat. Ni'mahu zahiratan wa batin. So this physical and spiritual as well. So the Tawil is related to batin, to hikmat, to wisdom, and those who receive those hikmat and wisdom is receiving abundant good, is receiving spiritual kingdom, and is receiving batini nemat. Now this is very important for all of us, that once we go into and read more Tawili knowledge, we receive more abundant good. We go into more Tawili knowledge, we are near to the great spiritual kingdom. We receive more Tawili knowledge, we receive more Batini Nemat or Batini bounties. And for the Nemat or the favors which Allah has granted, we have to see that this Nemat is the name of anything. This is from Allama Sahib book, Chain in the Light of Imamat. That Nemat is the name of anything which causes happiness, comfort and pleasure, physically or spiritually. So comfort, happiness and pleasure, and every favor is in the terms of value and pleasure. So every Nemat can be discerned on its value, what is the value of that Nemat and how it is giving us the pleasure. So this is very important to understand that, for example, if we have a nourishment or a food, and we compare that when men eat food or a nourishment, it has a superior value because we know the value of that food in terms of the taste, in terms of its benefit, and in terms of what it gives to us as compared to animals. And then these nemat as compared to spiritual nourishment is far more better than the physical nourishment. So even the nourishment, only if we talk about the nourishment or the food, physical food which animals eat, they eat just for their need, but we eat with the value of its nutritional value, with the benefit and with the taste and with enjoyment. And so there has level of the nemat. And then the nemat of the spiritual nourishment of angel is far more better than the physical nourishment. So it has the level. So for the special nourishment of the human soul, what is this? Which animal does not share? It is in speech, it is in discernment, it is in knowledge, it is in wisdom, and it is in marifat. So once we get marifat, we get batini knowledge, we are nearer to those nemat. We are nearer to those spiritual nemat. We are nearer to the spiritual kingdom. We get nearer to the intellectual benefits. We get nearer to the Imam of the time. So that's the reason, and that's the main benefits of the Tawil, which is in the Ismaili Mazhab, and we are so lucky to be born in Ismaili Mazhab that we receive those points of Tawil. And then this is just a prayer, and that's why Prophet and Imam has prayed, like Prophet prayed that Allahumma arinal ashiya'i kamahiya. Ya Allah, हमें चीजें असल सूरत में दिखा दे, in the origin form, in the Tawili form. So we can also pray that Allahumma arinal ashya kamahiya. Allahumma arinal ashya kamahiya. So हमें चीजें अपनी असल सूरत में दिखा दे. Oh Allah, show us things as they are. And make us aware of the reality of universe, the sun, the moon, stars, and grant us the recognition of our body, our soul, intellect, and disclose the great secrets of the wise Quran to us. And such wisdom-filled comprehensive prayer, it's not a single thing related to knowledge, but it's recognition. It's like far more covering the whole world. So in the view of Arif, if we see, when Arif see this world, everything is has the knowledge, has the casket of knowledge, and who has the pearls and precious gems. And I will not repeat this Abdullah's prayer, Ibn Abbas, but this the farman which Imam has said that हमारे प्यारे रूहानी बच्चों, ये बात अहम है. This is very important that Quran के मुख्तलिफ हिस्सों यानी सूरतों का मुताला करते हो. Like when you read different parts of Quran or any surate, when you read or when you do मुतालिया, उसके मानी को अच्छी तरह से समझें. हम उम्मीद करते हैं कि आप ये नहीं भूलेंगे कि कुरान के मानी ही पर हमारे नजरियाए इस्लाम की बुनियाद है. दिस इज इम्पोर्टेंट. हमारा नजरिया, our interpretation is बातिनी and तावीली interpretation. हमारा नजरिया बातिनी और तावीली है. अगर हमारा नजरिया जाहिरी होता तो कोई बात नहीं. It would not matter if our interpretation is physical or zahiri. लेकिन हम ये जाहिरी नहीं बल्कि बातिनी और तावीली है. But our interpretation, smiley interpretation, is बातिनी and तावीली. इसके मानी है, कुरान के बातिनी मानी हमारे जमाअत के लिए है, हमारे तरीके के लिए है, और ये बात बुनियाद है, इसलिए आप इसको ना भूलें. So Maulana Hazim Imam has made emphasis so much that since our interpretation and our tariqa is tawili, is batini, so the parts of the Quran which we read, the ayat and the surat which we read, has its deeper meaning, has its tawili meaning, wisdomful meaning, hikmat meaning, and then we need to understand those meanings. So in conclusion, like Tawil is basically healing. It's the gaining a spiritual order, progress in the spirituality, and moves towards Batini kingdom. So for the movement of us from the Tanzili level, which I have shown the diagram, to the Tawili intellectual level, this knowledge will be very helpful. Tawili knowledge will be very helpful and gives us the strength along with ibadat. Definitely ibadat, kiryamazari and all other rituals which we are doing, it's important, but the knowledge is also very important. And which kind of knowledge? Which comes from the truth of certainty, which comes from the intellectual level, which are pure knowledge, and which is from the Imam of the time, and where there is no doubt. So Tawili knowledge, Batini knowledge, Qiyamat knowledge can be achieved after the resurrection as the result of dying before the death. And Holy Prophet has said that he who dies, indeed his resurrection takes place. And in the last, if we pray that, Ya Allah, hame cheezein ki asal surat mein dikha de, means Ya Allah, please give us the strength to see and to read and to make ourselves equipped with the Tawili knowledge. So we have to pray this all the time, and then maybe if we go through the Tawili knowledge, small chunk of the knowledge, then inshallah we'll be able to achieve lot of spiritual bounties, will reach the spiritual kingdom, will get into the connection with the Imam of the time.
Subhanallah, Dr. Saiba and Yasmin Saiba. Friends, please share your questions in the chat. We received a couple of questions. I think there's a question is, anyone of you can answer it. How the Tanzil was revealed to the Prophet?
So I showed this diagram that it is said that this is the 5 ways, 5 wasai. So where for the explanation, but actually when Holy Prophet goes into he go to Gare Hira and then he received Isma Azam. He was doing the ibadat and then he went into resurrection. And from that resurrection, he received the Tawil. But to translate that Tawil, it is important that he puts it into the Tanzil and the explanation which the people can understand well. So that's the reason he gave few examples. And at that time, that the Tanzili time, it was not the Tawili time. So he received actually the Tawil, but then he converted that into the words. And that words which at the level of the people at that time they can understand.
The next question is for you, Yasmin Saiba. You mentioned P. Nasir Khusru was a Sayyid in family of ALWAAZ. Can you please explain how he was related?
Okay, so I mentioned that Haji Imam called him Sayyidna Nasir Khusrau. So if you go back to 7th century Arabia, remember Salman Farsi became part of the Ahlul Bayt because he actualized his personal world. Prophet said he was part of the Ahlul Bayt. So Haji Imam mentioned Sayyidna to Hakim bin Nasir Khusrau. Sayyidna also means friend of Allah, friend of God, right? So it could be in terms of Sayyidna being the friend of God. It could also mean that he's part of the Ahlul Bayt, meaning he has actualized his personal world. If you look at Pir Sadruddin, Pir Hassan Qabruddin, in today's time, if you look at Allama Sayyid. I hope I answered your question.
Friends, if anyone have any question, please unmute your device.
Amr, I'll offer a comment if that's okay, perhaps.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm just referring back to Anar's question in the chat. I think that's a very important question, and it's good for us to discuss that perhaps a little bit further, because it gets into the idea of how do we understand revelation and what is perhaps the difference of the Ismaili understanding, or is there a difference of the Ismaili understanding of how the Prophet receives revelation or hears the word of God as compared to other groups, let's say in Islam. And there is a fundamental difference between our understanding and others. There's one model which I think is the typical model that most people think of when they think of Islam, whether they're Muslim or not. And even the same thinking comes into the Jamaat sometimes, because at the early levels, we sort of adopt whatever the most popular thinking is, which is that the Prophet simply heard the speech as if the angel was whispering in his ear, and then he had to just repeat word for word, so that way there's no change, meaning God reveals it directly, to an angel, and the angel just carries it almost like an email, or it's called the fax machine model. And that is typically the Sunni model of the revelation, but the Ismaili understanding is usually the exact opposite, where the Prophet had a lot of agency in the final product of how the Quran was revealed, the Tanzil, because as was pointed out in the session, the knowledge or the wahi doesn't come in a verbal form, like as if he's being read a speech out, but it's revealed to the Prophet's heart, and it's in the form of light and nur. And then the Prophet is the one who transforms that, which is why he's a Natik. So I think this is and the reason why that's important is because this heavy language, and the Quran calls it a heavy speech, is not such that it's not, the language from God is not the same as the language that we use. So the Prophet has to have the capability, to be able to transform that nur into words, which is why there is Tawil, because there's layers and layers and layers of meaning such that we cannot fathom in God's speech. We can never exhaust God's speech such that it's, A means A and B means B. There has so many levels that's where the whole process of Tawil comes, and tracing it higher from the ground back up, as Dr. Saiba had put up the model with the different levels where the revelation descends and the intermediaries. So in the Tawili level, we're taking it back up to the original meaning, and each one is like rediscovering, sort of uncovering what the Prophet might have been experiencing in the form of his revelation. So I think that's a very important question, and I'm glad that it came up, and I think that helps us understand and move forward with understanding the Tawil and the role of Tawil.
Yeah, so it is important, Khalil. This is very good. It's important, and you highlighted important explanation what our interpretation is. So that Noor and the voices and the experiences it's that has translated into the Tanzim. And Rasul is not a transmitter of just whatever God has said and then transmit the knowledge. So, I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Dr. Saiba. Thank you, Yasmin Saiba, for joining. Thank you, friends. Yali Madad.
Yali Madad, thank you.
Malali
Yeah,
Madad.
yeah.
Thank you, one and all.
Thank you.